Now comes the time. The next session was added to our list of topics considering the huge demand blogging has in today's times. When everyone's surfing on the internet for information, then taking their decisions. And who better to talk about blogging as a career than a global influencer like Miss Masoom Minawala herself. Welcome, Masoom, and thank you for joining us today.
So, hi everyone. Pleasure being here and speaking to all of you.
Fabulous, Masoom. Allow me to introduce you to everyone first, before you get started. So Masoom Minawala is a well-known name in the fashion industry and the CEO of Miss Style Fiesta. She's one of the top fashion bloggers in India today and has a revered name. She's been among the CNN 20 under 40 entrepreneurs. Masoom has also founded Empower, an initiative that helps inspire and guide women in business. It's a pleasure to have you here, Masoom. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. So I'm here to talk about how you can build skills for content creation and how I actually started my journey as a content creator. So I'm going to dive right in. I started creating content 11 years ago. It was really the beginning of the content phenomena as we know it today. I started off as a hobby because really at that time, the creator economy and the influencer industry was extremely nascent. There was pretty much nobody really there and doing this. So it was an idea that was borrowed from the West. It's something that picked up there and then was picked up in India as well. So I started off as a hobby and I was really young. I was 18 years old and I was in college when I started this. And I was like, I loved it. I was gaining readership very, very quickly because nobody was doing it. So either it was curiosity or people clicked with that human connection immediately, or the third option is that they were just like, what the hell does she think she's doing, right? Does she think she can really make a career out of taking photos? Unfortunately, so I tried my hand at it. I was also studying alongside. Unfortunately, it was not a viable career at all because brands wanted to engage with the blog and engage with the content I was putting out, but they would only offer barters in return, right? So they would offer me one perfume bottle for a blog post. They'd offer me a t-shirt in exchange for the content that I was promoting. So it just didn't work out, but I had a very strong readership on my blog. And I knew there was a business there. I just didn't understand how I could crack it. So it was about 2013 when I launched probably India's first social commerce project as we know of it now. And, we've seen so many budding and buzzing businesses today launched in that sector. So what I did is I launched an e-commerce brand of my own and I used my blog as my marketing tool. So my customer acquisition cost was almost zero, right? Because whatever I was selling, I was basically promoting on my blog. So I was using my blog as my marketing platform. They completely they were blindly listening to anything I was telling them because I wasn't selling and I wasn't selling a product to them. I was selling an idea to them. I was telling them how to wear something. I was showing them how to design something. So the approach was very different from what any brand was doing at that point. And of course, it was extremely successful. So I ran that e-commerce brand for about 2 to 3 years. Unfortunately, my expertise lied in content, marketing, and strategy, and not in operations and logistics, which in early age e-commerce startup needs, especially in India. So I moved out of that business and moved to full-time content creation only 5 years ago. The reason I moved is because I saw the industry growing at a very rapid stage. I saw the potential and the opportunities were endless here, which is why I kind of took it on head on. And I think I took that on 5 years ago, and that time I felt like, oh my God, the industry is going to go places. But even right now, while I sit next to you, I still feel like we've only seen the tip of the iceberg when it comes to content and creators and influencers. We're going to see this exploding more and more as social commerce becomes an important part of our lives, especially with like IoT, objects, even with the metaverse coming in. We're going to see creators play an extremely crucial role. If you ask me why, I'll quickly tell you. The reason is that the position that creators like me hold has never been held by anyone before. So we're the link between the consumers and the brands, and there's never been a human being acting as a mediator here. So we have so much access to consumer behavior, how they're reacting, how they're consuming, whether they're consuming content, products, or services. We know the pulse of the consumer like the back of our hand, right? Because they're not They're not communicating with us through sales. They're communicating with us through every minute of the day with a like or comment or an engagement. On the other hand, we also know exactly what a brand wants, why they're trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve, and we know how to get it because we've now, through the years and through this experience, sat in so many brand strategy meetings. We know what the goals are. We know how to help them achieve it as well. So it's a very interesting and a very crucial point to be in, where you're kind of in the middle of both, right? And this position can be used to a massive advantage if kind of done right. So currently we're seeing content being created across social media platforms. So for example, my business is based on Instagram, YouTube, and I recently started LinkedIn as well because it's really picking up as a content creator platform. So the funny thing about this industry is that it's extremely dynamic. You actually don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you can't focus on a platform. You have to focus on your content, right? So you have to keep creating content, and you have to populate a platform that at a given point is most popular. That's basically what works. As we move ahead, we're seeing that creators will play a very important role in having their own brands, having their own merchandise, so actually having their D2C themselves, right? Because I explained earlier, they have customer understanding like nobody does. But what other roles can creators really play in the future is going to be an exciting sort of outline to see where this kind of takes us and where the industry takes us. When I talk about content, I think content is the crux of any business and any category that we talk about today, right? So even when we talk about skills factor, it's actually content based, right? I mean, it's when you're teaching something that you have to understand that as a piece of content. And in my years, I've had a lot of learnings when it comes to content. And I'd like to share just one of them with you, which is one of my most favorite ones, because of course, if I get into all of them, it might be too long a talk. But if I can tell you my most favorite ones, it's very commonly said, and this is very specific to the Indian consumer. It's very commonly said around the world that your customers and your consumers are they're actually giving you hints all the time, right? In the way they're engaging with your content, in what they like, what they don't like. So usually how content companies or anybody working with content works around the world is that tracking. And I do this as well. I track my content and I see how it's performing. So if a certain category or piece of content is performing, I'll simply create more of that for my audience. And it works really well. I mean, it's a very simple formula. It's applied everywhere. What I've noticed and realized with the Indian audiences is because they don't have enough digital exposure and they're a fairly new internet population, they actually don't know what they want, especially when it comes to digital content. So when we go out to ask them, what would you like to see? Or we go out to track how they're responding to content, we have to keep in mind that they have very limited exposure. So actually a reverse strategy has really worked for me when I'm creating for them without their feedback. And I've seen with multiple case studies that has performed phenomenally well. So I'm actually giving them what they didn't think they needed, right? So it's kind of like, it's almost an innovation and an invention in your space. And I'm sure this can be applied to sort of other businesses and categories as well. If anyone has any specific questions, I'm happy to take that on. Yes, so a large part of what I do, like you mentioned in my introduction, is also focused towards women empowerment and promoting women-run businesses. I think there's massive potential there, and that's something that I've witnessed just working with the kind of clients that I do have, right? So I understand that they're women who started a homegrown business, mostly in the times of COVID, right? So we saw a massive surge of businesses obviously not be able to survive the pandemic. And then we saw a massive surge of businesses actually be invented during this time. And it's been very interesting to track how they are using content to uplift and to market their own businesses. So that has been an extremely interesting content play as well. So the beauty about content is that you don't need, it's not a high capital business. It's not one that requires too many skills. It's not one that requires too much investment, right? So if I'm talking on behalf of being a content creator, or if I'm talking about a brand that wants to create content to market themselves, I'm talking about both. Actually, content creation can take your business and impact your business and literally your PNL massively if you just do it right. So it's the most important thing that we've seen with content and social media is that everything is based on trends, right? And these trends are publicly available for everybody to know and witness and see what's going on. So exactly like this color of the year that Pantone kind of announces, and then all the designers take up from it and create garments of that color. Similarly, even social media has trends that everyone picks up and learns from. So you have to have the ability to identify these trends and then act on it. So, for example, one of the key platforms in India right now, given the absence of TikTok, is Instagram. And they're actually leading in terms of a social media platform. Instagram has launched a new feature called Instagram Reels, and Instagram Reels is trending. So when you capitalize on a feature that the platform itself is promoting, you have a much higher advantage than you usually did without this feature being promoted by the platform. So it is in your position and your benefit that you make use of it and activate it. Yes, Maya. Do you want me to take any questions? Otherwise,
yes, we do have a question. Just give me a second. Yeah, so the question is, we have some people who are asking us, how often should we post on our blog? As in, how much is enough and how much is too much? Because you really have to understand how often is it nice to post content, so that it's recognized and it's valuable.
So it really depends. Consistency is important. Frequency needs to be decided on your own. Whatever frequency you decide, just remember to be consistent with it, right? That's the most important thing. If you say I'm going to post 3 times a week, make sure you post 3 times a week for a minimum of 6 months before you don't decrease that. You can increase it, of course. You can increase it within the week or within the month, but you don't decrease that. So consistency is a key player in the content industry.
Super. There's another one, Masoom. For blogging, one needs to be really good at writing in English versus vlogging only needs you to be confident and vocal. Is this true?
Could you repeat that question, please?
Blogging needs one to be really good at writing in English versus vlogging. Vlogging only needs you to be confident and vocal.
So I actually think blogging doesn't really exist anymore. The traffic that's being driven to blogs today is very, very less, right? So we're actually looking at content creation via images, videos, vlogging, YouTube, Snapchat. It's a much shorter form. Those long format blogs, BLOGS, doesn't really exist anymore. So yes, writing has taken a backseat, and it's all about your confidence, and it's all about the story that you have to tell.
Yeah.
How unique is that story that you can put out in the world, and how is it differentiating you from the others? That's what's most important.
Okay. Moses, you had a question. Do you want to go?
Yeah. So, Masoom, just to understand, so is it important to be on all different mediums of social media to be, as popular as you are? Like, for example, if we are getting something done for EduBridge as an organization, is it important to be equally present across all the different spaces of social media, or there's a certain thing that you hold on to and build your niche on that? What is your suggestion on that? What should we how should we take it up?
So for EduBridge specifically, actually I can answer this for any business, right?
Awesome.
I think you would much rather find your niche, and depending on your category, choose your platform. So the thing is that we think we can create a piece of content, put it across platforms, but that strategy never works and has never worked. You have to create for a content specifically. So Instagram likes short format videos. YouTube likes long format videos. YouTube likes horizontal. Instagram likes vertical. Twitter likes short format written content. LinkedIn likes only entrepreneurial or business related content. So you really have to see which platform with its unique proposition fits the best for your brand. And I would say, especially if you're starting out, you don't invest in all, right? Because that won't work out. You basically won't be able to conquer either, and you'll kind of lose motivation, because social media, before anything, you must accept, is a highly competitive space, and it's not one that's easy to crack, because there's millions and millions of people that are using it today. So I would say, find a content platform that most goes with your business, what you're trying to achieve, and what platform your consumers are using the most, and try to gain traction on that first. Once you've achieved that, the beauty about content creation is that over a period of time, you do find a good automation to it. You can prepare your calendar in advance. Everything doesn't have to be done live, right? You can work a bit in advance. So once you've cracked one platform, you can move on to the next and try others. But I'd say focus on one and then move on to the others.
Thank you.
So, Masoom, someone is asking, how do you stay consistent all the time? How do you not get distracted and just keep going?
So, I started with really the sheer of love for creating content. I was doing it as a hobby, so I didn't have any pressure to do it, right? So I really did it because I loved it. And then I had a lot of different situations in my journey until 5 years ago, I started to pursue it full time. Once I pursued it full time, it's like showing up to your job. Yeah. For me, showing up to my job is creating my content. Like if my content doesn't go out every day, it means I'm taking a break from work, which is also fine. But you'll take a few leaves in a year, right? Or you'll take a couple of weeks off, but you're pretty much going to show up every day for work. So it's a very confusing industry because it's a new industry.
Yeah.
There's not enough learnings, there's not enough guidelines, there's not enough laws around it. So it gets extremely confusing. But to simplify this is how I look at it. I look at my business as a startup. My product is my content, and my customers are my readers. And that's simply how I look at my business. And that makes everything much easier.
Super. Someone is asking, Masoom, what kind of things should we do first, and what kind of skills should we acquire before executing? I mean, before going all out with it, or before deciding to get started with this?
So the beauty of this, I mean, the beauty and the pain is both the same, right? It's just that it's an unorganized industry. It's so new, doesn't have guidelines. There's just so much to learn from it. So the beauty is that you actually don't need any skills to start this. You don't even need to know photography. You can literally take your iPhone, put it on a tripod, which costs 499 rupees from Amazon, and you can start creating content and have 1 million followers overnight. The key thing here is that what is the story you have to tell the world? That is the most important thing. And I could apply that same sort of question to EduBridge as well. What is the story that EduBridge needs to tell the world? Right? And how can we convey that through social media? So as soon as you crack that story, you'll crack the community and you'll crack the content.
Fabulous, fabulous. I don't think we have any more questions. Masoom, do you have anything else you want to share with everyone?
That's about it. Thank you so much, guys, for having me, and hope you all are having a great day. And the sessions have been fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you, Masoom. This was really interesting. Like you mentioned, content is the crux of everything we do today, and the amount of content we consume each day, in today's times is more than what it's ever been. And content creation clearly is likely to be a great career in the times to come. That's for all our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.